Hello, Aldwyn Altuney here. We have a great conversation coming up with the amazing Foxy, the Empowerment Sage, all about how to own your power in 2021. Now, a little bit about Foxy. Now, we're doing a little half-hour interview today. And then at 12 o'clock today, we have a free webinar where we're going to go deeper into the conversation that we are having now for the next half hour. So if you haven't registered for our webinar coming up at 12 today, which is in 2 hours from now, depending where you are in the world, 2 hours from now, we are starting a 90-minute free webinar. And the details are all over Facebook. They're in Eventbrite. They're just look up how to own your power. Own Your Power in 2021, and you will see it. Just make sure you register on Eventbrite so that you get the link to join us. And I'll actually pop that into the chat wherever you're watching this, if you're on Media Queen TV right now or on Facebook. So Foxy, a little bit about the amazing Foxy. Now, she is known affectionately as the Empowerment Sage. She's an intuitive facilitator, a master results coach, NLP and hypnosis trainer. She's a neurological therapist, pranic and light wave energy worker, artistic creator, keynote speaker, and soon to be author. Foxy has created the 9 archetypes of your inner power to helping her clients connect into their body, to integrate their emotions and strengthen their intuition so they have greater confidence to easily move through any difficult situation they may find themselves in. She prides herself as an out-of-the-box facilitator, creating fun and playful experiential journeys that are deeply and profoundly transformational, seeing the clients she works with grow and flourish in their relationships, business, and personal life. Welcome, Foxy.
Thank you, Aldwyn, for having me here on the show. I'm excited for this chat this morning and also for our event coming up at 12 noon today.
Yeah, absolutely. Foxy, you are amazing. And what a lot of people won't know about you, which you recently came out of the closet about, is that for 17 years you were an exotic dancer as well as being deeply into personal development. And it's a really interesting topic, about the shame that people have around sexuality and about exotic dancing, some people have. And, stepping into owning your power and coming out and talking about your experiences with that is something that I take my hat off to you for, because it does take confidence to speak up about these things where, with sexuality in general, there is a lot of judgment around that in society. So what was it that made you go into the industry in the first place, and what made you decide to speak up about it?
Well, that's a really good question. What made me go into that industry? It's I think it just inherently was curious for me to explore that part of myself. I remember being as a child, dancing around the lounge room to my mother playing the piano, and that's all I was interested in, was just expressing myself through my body. And it came naturally to me, but with certain beliefs and conditioning throughout my life, especially very heavily religious beliefs, holding me back from exploring that side of myself, making decisions not to go there, held me back a lot. But then in my 30s, when the church disintegrated, that opened up the doors for me to step into this part of myself that I was always willing to explore. And I guess in a sense it came naturally to me. And that's why I've taken so long and boo-hoo to go like, oh my goodness, like, everyone's sexy, right? Everyone knows how to be sexy. Everyone feels this inside of them and has that. But I've learned that people don't have it. And I did. I had a lot of shame and guilt around it because of my religious conditioning. But it's just more than that. It's just the whole society. It's the whole way we've been brought up to believe. If you look back at history in the 19th century, what women were taught to stay home and be pure and not go out and stay behind closed doors and, only fit for private life. And just all this conditioning that we've been brought up with still permeates us today. And it never ends to surprise me. I guess it shouldn't, but it does. Just the amount of shame and guilt that comes up for women when they start connecting into their bodies. And that is amazing because in our body stores so much of our memory and emotions. And when we tap into our body, it brings all this stuff up. So did that answer your question?
Yes. Well, how you got into it and what made you decide to speak up about it is what I'd love to know.
So what made me to speak up about it was a long process, because it was kind of like, I just thought, you know, it's not something that people are interested in. But in a sense, I knew that they were, because when I worked as a dancer, more and more women would come into the club and they would say, I wish I had the confidence to do what you do. Not that they want to be a dancer, but just simply to be able to be okay and comfortable in their bodies and to express themselves through their body. And that kind of woke me up to realize that there is a big need out there, that women are wanting to explore this part of themselves and yet feel suppressed or ashamed or not able to go there. It's not the done thing. So yeah, that's what, and it's been calling me. It's been like, this is what you need to do. And I'm going, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else.
Yes.
Buy property or something. See, I'm choking up already.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
To speak up about this is like, it does. It takes a lot because we've been so shut down.
Yes, we have been shut down. And when we're shut down in one area, we're often shut down in other areas. And that's the thing. If you have judgment and shame towards yourself or others, even, you know, in your own life, in any area of your life, you know, we're talking about how to own your power in 2021. And that's really embracing every single part of you, right? Embracing everything you have done that has brought you to this point now. There's a reason you are where you're at right now. And everything you've done has brought you to that point. So if you have shame and guilt from something from the past, then that's going to make it really hard for you to move on in a powerful manner in the year ahead. So, Foxy, what do you find with the clients that you work with? What do you find is coming up a lot for them? Is shame and guilt a huge thing still for a lot of people, or is fear? What are some big issues for people at the moment?
Yeah, it's a huge shame and guilt that affects everything. It affects how they feel about themselves. It affects their relationship. It affects their life. It affects their career, their relationship with their children, parents, siblings, business, just and how we show up. And it's huge, but it's so deep. It's so unconscious. A lot of this, we're not even aware. Like, I'm constantly learning myself. So how much more is it for women that don't even want to be able to move their bodies, like they feel shamed and guilt to be able to move their body sensually, because it brings up so much stuff. Our body has just got so much intelligence. And when we shut down and shut our bodies down and not allow ourselves to go there, we stay stuck. We stay stuck.
Three brains, right? We have the head brain, we have the heart brain, and the gut brain, right? Which I only discovered recently myself. I've been doing a lot of women's work, a lot of working on my feminine energy, because I've been very masculine a lot of my life, and coming into my body has been really challenging for me. And, you know, meditating and taking time out just to breathe and focus on your breath, you know, that's been challenging. However, it is a practice, right? And stuff does come up. Stuff comes up in your body because we hold things in our body. We hold dis-ease in our body, and it's often emotionally related. So if you don't deal with your emotional stuff and realize, have an awareness around what it is that triggers you about yourself or others, or what it is that has you be hard on yourself or hard on others, if you don't work through that, then you will remain stuck, right?
Yeah, it's facing the fear of feeling. Like, I had one lady come to me, and she was like many women, very business focused, very driven, very wanting to make a career happen. And she was very successful, but yet this part of her thinking, oh my goodness, do I actually have to feel? It was just a big hurdle for her. And challenging. It's so challenging. But when she allowed herself to go there, she realized, first of all, her emotions and feelings didn't actually kill her. And it wasn't as bad as she thought it was. And when she embraced that, it gave her such a new sense of freedom and peace and feeling empowered within herself that she was able to give more. And the very next day, she went out and sold more of her spots in her workshop program than she normally would have, because she could connect with her clients. So yeah, on a completely different level, like they saw something in her, go, oh my goodness, I want more of this. Yeah, so it opens you up to being more authentically yourself, more who you are, like without all this pretense of what we think we're supposed to be like.
Yes, yes. I found out the other day, the biggest regret of the dying is living a life not true to themselves, living a life that others expect of them. That is the biggest regret of those who are dying. Isn't that interesting? Not being true to yourself. So what will it take for people watching this right now? Thank you so much for joining us. If you have joined us, love to hear where you are from and what you're getting from this conversation so far. Please just,
and if you have any questions as well.
Yeah, any questions, we'll be chatting for about another 20 minutes on this interview, and then we'll be doing the live webinar in about 90 minutes time, roughly at 12 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, Brisbane time. We've got a 90-minute free webinar, which the link to join us is in the chat, in comments. Where are you joining us from, and what are you getting? What's something you've got so far from this conversation, or any questions? We'd love to hear from you. So what does it take, Foxy, for someone to own their power?
What does it take to own your power? Courage.
Yes.
It takes courage. It takes courage to go there. And we innately, especially as women, we know that there's more. We know there's something more that we want to express ourselves. We know that the way that we're doing is just not working, and there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a different way. And we're searching for that. So it's, first of all, is taking that step to be willing and explore. And that's why I created what I call the 9 archetypes of your inner power, because it helps us step into those parts, those deep hidden parts of ourselves that we have ignored, we put under the covers, felt shamed, felt guilty, and that we are afraid to go there, and we're so judgmental of. Yeah, and it's just courage to go there, because once we step into that place and look, it's not what you think it is. It's not as scary as you think it is. It's more the stories we tell ourselves that stop us.
Absolutely. Watch out for that little inner critic, right? The monkey chatter that happens in the brain. And if you're asking yourself right now, what little voice in my head, that's the voice we're talking about, right? It's that little voice in your head. Now, Linda, hello, Linda, great to see you. Very interesting topic. So true, she says. Jacob says facts. He's getting facts from this right now. Fantastic. What about the rest of you? Where are you coming to us from? And any questions? Any questions for Foxy? Now, the 9 archetypes you touched on. So can you share a little bit more about that?
So the 9 archetypes, it took me about 18 months to develop them while I worked as a professional exotic dancer, because I wanted some tools or some way to help people move through. And I believe in fun. Honestly, I think the best way to learn is to have fun, and you don't even know that you're learning, and the learning stays with you a lot longer and far greater. So I don't know, it's just something that I felt led to create. I love creating experiences for people to go through. First of all, they come for the funness, and then they realize, oh my goodness, there's some profound transformational learnings. And I know that you, Aldwyn, definitely have experienced this coming to the retreat, Reclaim Your Sass. So I mean, you can talk about that.
I loved it. I love sensual dancing. I love moving my hips and my body. It's kind of like we did some kind of like slow belly dancing almost, wasn't it? It was that beautiful, like the figure 8 of the top and the bottom half of, like, just, I love all that sensuality and sexuality. And I think if we didn't have the sex industry out there, which, dancing is not saying it's exactly sex, it's sensuality. But, if we didn't have the sex industry, and if we didn't have exotic dancers, and we didn't have, we didn't have that, I'd say there would be a lot more fights and wars going on out there, because we need relief, right? We need relief. So we need relief. And that's same with women. We need to be relieved in our bodies, not be stuck with that energy. We need to move that energy through our bodies. And, it's nice that people can appreciate that, right? When you really sensually dance. And I love that at the Reclaim Your Sass retreat, we had a dance night, and we had a group of women that got together, and we all did an amazing dance together. And then we had other sections in the retreat where we stepped into different archetypes. And for those who, and it's not just for women, archetypes, and this is something that's right across the board for men as well. Men have archetypes too. So could you just share some examples of just some of the archetypes that are common out there?
Absolutely. So these archetypes, when I first created them, I thought they were, I actually called them feminine. And then I realized, well, that's not true. It's like, it's embracing both what has been labeled feminine and masculine traits. Yeah. So I dropped both of those words, right, because these are traits or characteristics of being true to yourself. And it applies equally to men as it does for women. And I guess the archetypes probably appeal to women is because of the languaging that I use, and just the costumes, because I'm a female, I dress up in feminine type of costumes to represent each of the archetypes. But the thing is, you can have equally what a man would dress up in or portray. So it's not about whether it applies to women or to men. It applies to both. And it's, as I said, it's characteristics of being true to yourself. So what are some of the archetypes? There's 9 of them. I don't remember them all. I could rattle them all off. So there's the warrior, there's the nurturer, there's the virginal, enchantress, dominatrix, contender, free spirit. I don't think there's 9 yet. So each one of them.
In the webinar, we can cover all of
them.
Yeah,
I go through them more in the webinar. I don't actually have it written in front of me. When I created them, I thought, why is it 9? I want 5. It's like there's too many. But anyway, it's just what it is. I feel it's inspired, if that's a word you want to use. So.
Yes, I'm very curious about the dominatrix, I must say. I think that would be a fun role to play. And it's interesting that some people love to be sort of, kicked around, and, some people like to be submissive, right? And then you have the dom, right? And you have these power plays that happen in life all the time. And I find the whole S&M industry fascinating. I find how some people are into the pain of being dominated. I mean, it doesn't have to be painful. It can be very pleasurable being dominated and being submissive, and and it's interesting, that whole world, the whole world of BDSM, I find fascinating. And a lot of highly powered people often go to see dominatrixes, right, or doms. It's very interesting. It's like they need to balance out the energies of how they do life.
Well, yeah, it's not even that. I mean, the amount of high-powered individuals would come into the strip club when I worked there. Like, it was a release. I mean, we are all sexual beings. Yes. We were born through sex. It's a natural part of us, and unfortunately it's been overemphasized in many places and underemphasized in many other places. So we've got a very misconstrued idea of what it's all about. Even when you're talking about dominatrix, that whole thing, like, many people have just such a misconstrued idea is what it's about. And it's interesting, people have the biggest opinion about things that they know nothing about. And it's something I've definitely learned myself. Yeah, like, and until you actually explore these things, then you become educated.
Yeah. I've explored the dominatrix thing a little bit, but not like, I'm not into pain. I don't like to inflict pain on people, but I kind of like playing around a little bit sometimes with that. And I quite enjoy that, I must say.
Yeah.
And,
so the dominatrix is not about inflicting pain or being in pain. It's about being assertive. And just learning to step into that part of yourself that is assertive and knows what you want. So it's not about diving in, you know, should I be inflicting pain on someone? It's nothing about that. It's just simply the attributes that is a part that we have shut down and believe that we can't go there.
There's people that get off on the pain, right? Like there's some extreme levels of BDSM where, you know, there's asphyxiation and there's, you know, needle, you know, piercings and all sorts of, like, you know, whippings, and, you know, some of it gets a bit extreme with some people, and some people are into that, right? Some people like the pain, and some people like to give the pain. I'm more a lover than a fighter, I must say, myself. Although I find the whole psychology behind it, the whole acting it out, I find that fascinating personally. Yeah, Angela says, interesting indeed. Has anyone else played around with DOMs and subs and dominatrix and being assertive? Now, being assertive is a great point that you mentioned, because being assertive in the bedroom, outside the bedroom, being assertive in your life, how often do people speak their mind when they have something to say? Or how often do you shut down when you have something you want to say and you don't say it because you want to keep the peace? How often?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something I've definitely struggled with, is that, and also being in the warrior as well, taking action and being assertive. That's my, because it's interesting, I've got what I call a checklist of the 9 archetypes, and the thing that comes up a lot for people that they don't resonate with is the enchantress. And that is the one that is the sensual, sexy part of themselves, and also the dominatrix, they don't resonate as well. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Yeah.
So it's about embracing all parts of you, and we all have every single personality trait, right? So whatever you say about someone else, you will have a part of you that will be also that, right? We just bring out certain parts more than others, and which becomes, well, in landmark education, they call it your strong suit. The strong suit, or how you come to survive life, how you come to be in life, that you become known a certain way because that's your mechanisms for survival. So, for example, I've been confident, I've been aloof, and I've been funny. There have been 3 ways I've taken on. You know, I have a sense of humor that, you know, I make myself laugh often. Not everyone laughs at my jokes, but, you know, we all have our ways of coming across. Some people come across as shy because that's how they've survived life, because of whatever traumas and things have happened in the past that have led us to become a certain way to survive life. And when we can take on any way of being in life, it's a really powerful thing. It's a really empowering way. You can take on any way of being at any point by starting life from a blank canvas and moving forward from then. Anyone who's done landmark will know what I'm talking about here. That's just one of the things that I've studied. I've done a lot of personal development as well, Foxy. Is there any, out of all the different personal development you've done, NLP and all the different work there, is there anything that really stands out that was really pivotal for you, that made a massive difference in your life out of all your training?
The thing that was really pivotal for me was realizing that I learned a lot of how-to stuff, which kind of went over the top of how I was feeling. So when I understood that I needed to address what was inside of me, the hurt, the trauma, the scaredness, the afraidness, until I actually addressed that, didn't matter what I did. Things just didn't seem to work in business and life and relationships and all of that. But when I embraced what I was feeling and embraced and faced what I was up against within myself, my own self-doubt, that's when things transformed. And when I valued myself, when I valued what I had and accepted me for me, not trying to be like someone else, not trying to be like what I think I'm supposed to be like, but just embracing me, just allowing myself to show up how I wanted to show up, and let go of the judgment of other people. So when I faced that, that made all the difference.
Yes, absolutely. Facing your fear and doing it anyway, right? So fear, it's either fear or love, I say, we come from in life with every decision. You're either coming from fear or you're coming from love. And this is where often in relationships, you know, I see a lot where people start to get close to each other and then they freak out, they think they're going to get hurt and they run away. and then sometimes they come back together, and there's this kind of push-pull that can happen in life. And it can be also with goals that you want, right? That you might want certain goals, and you take some steps towards those goals, and then the fear comes up of the fear of success or fear of failure comes up, and then you'll back away from it, and then you might take steps towards it, and then you'll sabotage. People sabotage themselves all the time, in relationships, in life, in business. Sabotage, self-sabotage. So what are some ways to overcome self-sabotage, Foxy?
So it's like self-sabotage, anything of those things. It's how you feel, it's facing how you feel. So it's learning to be aware of what's going on within yourself. That is the very first step, is just to become aware. Oftentimes we're not aware, and we think everything's outside of ourselves, and think it's the circumstances, thinking it's our partner, thinking it's something else that's outside of us that we can't change, or change what's around us. But when we are aware of how we ourselves are thinking and feeling, and visiting that, actually going within and feeling what's going on in your body, and allowing that to speak to you, allowing that to show you the way. When we have the courage to do that, that's when things transform.
Yes, absolutely. And people will only treat you as you allow them to treat you. So if you're not happy with the current relationship or your current situation, then maybe it's time you started treating yourself a bit better, right? And started to be open to allowing better situations into your life. If you're not happy with something or someone, and you communicate with them, and you're not able to resolve things with continual communication, the way you keep headbutting, well, maybe there's a sign there to move on, right? Maybe it's time for new beginnings and for opening up to better experiences for yourself and opportunities. And then part of that, really owning your power, is being really clear on what you want, right? Be clear on what you want. So how important is goal setting, or law of attraction, manifesting what you want? How important is being clear on what you want to actually getting what you want, Foxy?
Absolutely. And being clear on what you want is, first of all, believing that you deserve it. Yes. Believing that you're worthy, because oftentimes we'll have these airy-fairy goals outside of us, and then we'll, as you said, like self-sabotage the way that we're feeling. So until we actually face those things, we can have as many things outside of ourselves that we want to achieve and attain. It's not going to happen until we change within ourselves. There's a saying that goes something like, to master your destiny is first of all to master yourself. That's the only way through, is to self-mastery. And what I'm talking about there is being responsible for how you think and how you feel and what's going on for you. And that, honestly, that is the key. And it's not always easy to do.
Yeah. And it takes ongoing work. It takes ongoing working on yourself and being aware of how you're being. Now, I've had depression over the years. I found out many years later that anger turned inwards leads to depression. And sometimes I'd go into these dark places for months at a time, right? And then I started to do personal development. And the more awareness I had over what it was that was triggering me and what was going on for me, the more self-awareness I had, the quicker I was able to move through situations where I was triggered. Right. And that's so important, having that self-awareness, awareness, and then acceptance. Acceptance is the second big thing. And then appreciation, the 3 steps to healing, as Ben Harvey said once from Authentic Education. 3 steps to healing is awareness, acceptance, and appreciation, looking for the gifts in everything that has happened, because I do believe that we manifest everything. We attract everything into our lives. We are 100% responsible for our situations and circumstances that we attract into our lives. And that's not saying to tolerate bad behavior, but if you are tolerating bad behavior, there's a reason for that too. You may have been abused as a child. There might be certain ideas or conditions you have subconsciously, possibly, where you feel that that's what you deserve. And so if you keep putting out that energy, that's what you deserve, you're going to keep getting the same stuff. So important to have that
Absolutely.
self-awareness and self-development. So working on yourself all the time. You know, I've invested about $500,000 in my personal development. Foxy, you've probably done much the same, have you? Probably
Not quite as much. I never had that much money to spend, but definitely a lot. I could buy a house with what I've spent, but it's yeah, and oftentimes some of those things that I've invested have been mistakes, but then that's the learning in itself. Like, why did I invest that money in something that I wasn't in the right headspace to even to go there, and that's what it comes back to. I invested a lot of things on how-to stuff, but I didn't invest on the inner work, because that's where it is. Because the how-to actually just comes when you've done the inner work. The how-to is easy. Because you find that resourcefulness within yourself and things happen. But it's going inside. It's going, what's going on here? Like, that's that's the journey inwards.
The journey inwards, so important. And I must say, I've been out there, massive networker, going to a million different events, and I must say I love the networking. And some people get energized by hanging out with lots of people, and some people get energized by being alone and having their own space. And I've learnt to come inward in the last year, which has been really powerful, and actually being okay in my own space as well, rather than running away from myself and being scared of the depression and scared of the anxiety that can come up sometimes. And, you know, actually embracing all parts of me and feeling through that. It's really, really powerful. So Foxy, we have got our webinar coming up in about 90 minutes from now. The link to register is in the chat for those joining us. Here's the link up on the screen there too. And it's just look in the comments wherever you're watching this, on Media Queen TV on YouTube or on Facebook. Wherever you are watching this right now, there is the link to join us. So Foxy, what are we going to be covering in the Own Your Power in 2021 free webinar, How to Gain Clarity, Confidence and Cash Flow? What are some specific things you're going to cover coming up?
So I will be sharing with you the 5 simple secrets to manifest your life the way that you want it. So, and by doing that is stepping into that inner power within yourself. So I'll be going through those. I'll also be talking to you about the archetypes, what each one of those represent, kind of briefly. And by the end of it, you will have the steps to be able to know what to do. Even if that's all you do is just do those 5 simple steps, you will transform your life.
Fantastic. Can't wait, Foxy. And for those joining us, thank you so much. We'll see you on the Zoom call shortly. Make sure you register on Eventbrite, and in the order confirmation will be your Zoom link to join us. Okay, so just scroll down through Zoom if you can't see the registration. Any issues, just PM me, and PM our team. Will get back to you soon. Can't wait for that. Starting at 12 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Own Your Power in 2021. The time has come. The time is now. See you on the webinar very shortly. Absolutely free. Come and join us for 90 minutes, and you can ask any questions that you have over there, or if you have questions watching this right now, pop into the comments and we'll monitor that under this live stream as well that we're doing now. Any final words, Foxy, before we get ready for our webinar?
Final words. Follow your heart, but at the same time, step into those places. Like, if you feel like an urge to do something, it will take you in the right place, as long as the rest of you is aligned as well. Be courageous.
Yes. Be courageous. And thank you so much, Linda, Jacob, Angela, for your comments on the live stream, and for all those watching the replay. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Foxy, for your time. We're going to head over now and get ready for our event starting very shortly, How to Own Your Power in 2021 free webinar. You will love it. So come and join us shortly. We'd love to see you there. Thank you so much, Foxy, and have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. Hope you had a lovely Christmas, and here's to an awesome 2021. I believe in you. All right, we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.